Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the LifeHugger podcast. I am Evelyn, and today I have my friend and my teammate, or used to be teammate, Kara.
Used to be, sadly. Hello, everyone.
So Kara and I started in this company on the same day.
On the same day.
So we had our orientation together, we went overseas for training together, and the topic for today that we want to talk about is careers. But more specifically, why is it that people in our age group tend to not be too content with what we're doing and we're always looking for what's next?
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that a lot of times when I catch up with friends, and we talk about career, people are always in transition. They've either just moved to a new job or they're looking out for a new job. But it's very rare, I would say, that somebody is like, I love what I'm doing and this is what I want to be doing for the next couple of years.
I've never heard that. And people succeed so early these days, I feel like, especially with all these successful unicorn or decacorn startups. Success are so big and so early that we can see it so visibly. So I think we are under pressure to move forward.
With my career for the last couple of years, I've been in the same team. And I think regardless of how much I enjoy doing my work, I see people around me move a lot.
Yeah.
And that could be small movements from like moving to a new team where you have a new manager to moving locations, right? There's a lot of people that go from Singapore to California, Singapore to New York.
Yeah.
And so then having been in the same team for a while, same location, I just felt this pressure to do something different just because everyone around me was doing something different.
Yeah.
And whenever people make a move, the people around them would look at them and be like, oh, good job, you know?
Yeah.
Or like, oh, congratulations. I mean, and that's like well-deserved. But then on the flip side, I think it makes you feel that if you're not moving anywhere, it doesn't even matter where you're moving. Just if you're not moving, then you're kind of lagging behind.
So for context, for the audience.
Okay.
Me and Evelyn, we both been in the same job for a few years until recently.
And I just moved to the neighboring team.
I'm still in the same team. So I understand this pain really well because whenever I meet somebody that I haven't met in a year or so, they'll usually ask, so what's new with you? Oh, same thing. Oh, same company? Yeah. Same team? Yeah. And then, of course, my friends have no ill intent in asking those questions. Right?
And they're probably not judging you
exactly.
either.
They're not judging at all. But I am judging myself. Like, oh my God, really? It's been a year and you're still here? We have this pressure of if we're not moving to the next thing, no matter what that thing is, then we are kind of stuck and we're not progressing. In a
Even
sense.
I would say even within the company, when I run into people who I haven't seen in a couple of months even, they'd be like, hey, are you still on the same team? Then I feel like there's almost that expectation to say no. You know? I moved to a completely different function. I sit on the other side of this building.
From our talk, it seems like it comes from within, right? Because it's not really a social pressure on us. It's more like how we look at ourselves and how we judge our own career trajectory.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Like, where does this inner pressure of continuously wanting to move or do something new, where does that come from, you think?
It could be that because we are exposed to social media where we can visibly see people having these milestones or moving jobs or moving locations. I guess back in the day when we don't have social media, then you don't see people move that much. You know like 50 people in your immediate context. But now, I mean, every day you go on social media, you see 2 or 3 people moving jobs.
And I also think it's, if you're looking for it, then you will see it. So I'm comparing myself against friends who are moving around. So I'm like, oh, you know, that good friend, she just moved to Europe. And then, oh, this friend, she's deciding to move to New York. And those are the ones that stick to my mind that I'm comparing myself with. But then if you're being really objective, you probably have a lot of friends who are doing just as well, but they're not moving.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's such a good point. So again, it comes from within because we're actively looking for changes, for movements.
Yeah.
And then we are more attracted to that. Why there are a lot of people who are not moving but are doing just fine and succeeding, but we don't look at that.
Yeah. So we've talked about internal pressure,
Mm-hmm.
but do you think that we do exert external pressure onto other people? Because I think we were being nice earlier and saying like, oh, well, they're not judging us, but do you think they are?
This is a tough question.
Was there ever an instance where somebody did not give you a new update and you were like, you lame?
I'm not that judgmental. No. I'm a nice person. No, I guess it depends a lot on the person's perception, like how they perceive their own change on lack of changes. If I ask somebody and they be like, no, I'm still in the same job, but I'm doing something differently. If they have a positive attitude
That's
to
true.
it,
That's so
then
true.
you'll be like, okay, that's good. That's great to hear.
Right.
But I mean, you can feel it, right? The moment that they start to be like, nah, same stuff, like same job. So you
Right.
can feel that person isn't very happy where they are. I guess if you ever get a little bit of judgment, that's where the judgment comes in, because, if you're not happy, then maybe you can do something about it. So yes, maybe there's some external pressure to it, but I think at the end of the day, maybe it still comes from within. And I
see what you're
didn't
saying.
think about it that way until we talk about it.
Yeah.
And I realized that, I mean, even how people perceive us, it all comes a lot from how we look at things ourselves.
That's true, because I do talk to people who really like what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I asked somebody like, oh, Kevin, actually. Should I call out his name? My cousin. So he's working in Shanghai, and I asked him like, hey, how's your job going? He's like, I love it. My boss is awesome. The projects that I'm doing are great.
You didn't tell him to shut up.
No, I mean, I think it's so encouraging
Yeah, it's
to
very
hear that.
It's very refreshing, actually.
It's refreshing. So then if somebody has been in that job even for 7, 8 years, and then they answer with such enthusiasm, then I look up to you.
Yeah, exactly. Just within the company, I've met people who've been in the same job for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And they're not moving, not because they don't want to move, but they choose to stay because this is exactly what they want to do. I've met people who've been a specialist of a certain product or category, and naturally you'll be like, do you want to become a people manager? Do you want to manage a team or anything?
Right.
And they're like, no, I'm happy where I am. I love my job exactly the way it is, and I don't mind continue doing this.
Yeah.
It's really genuine when you hear something like that. And you're like, oh yeah, okay, good for you. Yeah. You don't have to get promoted every few years, or you don't need to, becoming like a big shot in a big company just because that seems like a success to you. If you know
Right.
exactly what success is or happiness is for you, then that's awesome.
Yeah. But I wonder how that's perceived within a company, though. Because I feel like when we talk about progressing or doing well in your job, there is, I sense, an expectation that you want more. And wanting more means that you're driven, that you're motivated.
This is an excellent point.
Right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
how would a manager perceive it if you come in and you say, hey, I don't need a promotion. I am happy doing what I'm doing. I love where I'm at. Because then I think then maybe that's where the external pressures are, right? And then sometimes
You're
people
right,
would
you're
ask
right,
you like,
yeah.
oh, you've been in this team for a while. What's your exit plan?
What's next?
What's next, you know?
What's next? Yeah. Yeah. People just assume that you want more.
Right?
People just assume that you want the next level, or you want like a bigger scope or a bigger team. They assume that you're always wanting more. Like
Right. And should we feel that way? Like, is it wrong to
not wanting more.
not want more? Or would that be seen as lazy?
There's a fine line between not wanting more because you're complacent, or if you're lack of ambition. But it could be that, or it could also be that you're satisfied and content exactly where you are right now. I think there's a fine line.
Right.
And how do we tell the difference between, am I being complacent, or do I just know myself so well to know that this is what I want?
Right. Because I almost feel like it's taboo to say that you're happy with where you are and that's where you want to be.
Maybe that's where the both internal and external pressure coming from, because it's always have this invisible assumption that you gotta be wanting more at any moment of your life.
Right.
Therefore, you must be unsatisfied at any moment of your life.
I feel like there's something romantic thinking about, small town life, running a really cute, successful cafe where you get the same customers every day. But then that romantic story in my vision doesn't come with that person going, okay, well, now I want to franchise this and open 200 more. Then it kind of ruins that romanticism, right?
Exactly.
So that's cute, but then I don't know how to apply that to myself.
Even if you find the idea cute and you have that coffee shop in that small town life right now,
I would franchise it. I'm kidding.
Immediately you'll be like, how do I 10x this, right? Yeah. How do I open the next 10 coffee shops just like this? I was in Taipei recently, and one of the amazing things about the city that I found is everyone seemed to be really content with where they are. I went to a shopping mall, and there were these people who press the elevator button for you. They don't look overly happy.
I can imagine that. Yay!
They look like, this is my job. And
I do it well.
Yeah, and I do it well, and I do it with a good attitude. Yeah, just an overall content attitude that, to be honest, I haven't seen that in Singapore.
So I heard, I don't know if this is true. This is not fact. So I was talking to a friend, and she was saying how growing up in Taipei, she didn't feel like there was a hierarchy of jobs. How here it's like, what is the most prestigious in Singapore, I would say, is like banking.
Yeah.
There's certainly like, you would want your kid to do that when they grow up.
Yeah.
So then this friend was saying that in Taipei, there's not so much that. So then maybe when you don't compare yourself on like a linear path, like, oh, that person has a better job, but then you just see like, oh, that person has a different job, they have a different interest or whatever, then there's less dissatisfaction with what you're doing.
Yeah.
It seems like dissatisfaction with career, and I guess with everything else, just comes with comparing ourselves against other people.
I think you're right, because on social media, people tend to only post the best moments of their lives. So because we only see the best of everyone, and then we compare ourselves to the sum of the best of everyone.
That's true.
Then we find ourselves so inferior in so many ways. Our social life is not as happening as this person. Our career is not happening as this person, and we're not moving as fast as this person. If we compare ourselves to that lump sum of the best of everyone, we would never be satisfied.
Yeah.
We always find ourselves in the place that we need more. We need to do more and want more and get more.
So has there ever been a moment for you where something that you've achieved might look really successful to other people, and they would use you as like an example of like, oh, that person is going somewhere, but then inside you're actually not really too proud of it, or you're bothered by something else?
That happens a lot when I go back to Vietnam, because if I go back to Vietnam and I say I work for Google and then I'm flying here for a business trip, things like that are perceived very well in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that girl, she got a job in Singapore, now she's working for Google.
Yes.
The search company. Even my parents are really proud of me when they talk about my job, and when I meet somebody new, they even go as far to say, I wish I had your job.
Yeah.
And then here I am, been in my job in a few years, and I just keep thinking that I want something else. I keep asking myself, should I continue being here, or should I be going somewhere else? When that happens, it does make me feel like I'm more grateful. At the same time, it also makes me feel like if I look at somebody and I think, I wish I had that life, then I'd be like, you never know what he or she is feeling inside.
Exactly.
Because she could be just as unsatisfied as as you are, or as somebody else is.
Yeah. I'll give you an example of my mom. So sometimes she's really good at comparing herself to people around her. And I remember one time she was telling me how, oh, like, look at that family. I'm so envious of them because all of their kids are married. I mean, this is like coming from Asian mom aspirations, right? Yeah. They're like, all of their kids are married. They have grandchildren. The kids' husbands or wives respect the parents so much. And they all live at home, and they do exactly what the parents say. So to her, looking at that was like the dream. And then my response, I was like, Mom, you have no idea. I mean, they really could be this like fairy tale family. Or you don't know, maybe the kids, like the partners, maybe they're not in love. Maybe they fight all day with the parents, or maybe they feel so oppressed. We just don't know, right? But then it's so easy for us to package other people's experience or like their life into this like perfect little ball, and then we hold it up and it's like, like, how do I get there?
It seems like this is a common feeling that is shared among our generations.
Yeah.
No matter what stage that person is in their career.
Right.
So what's the solution? Should we even do something about this? Accept it as the way it is?
I don't know if it's necessarily like a problem that comes with a solution, but I do think that a lot of the unhappiness just comes from like what you said earlier, which is summing up all the good parts and then comparing your whole self, positive and negative, to only the positives. And I think you need to have an idea of what success or like what kind of career are you trying to achieve, and then compare yourself against that. But I guess that sounds, really nice to say, but what's hard is I think I think I can speak for a lot of people that I have talked to. We don't know what forward looks like or what good looks like, which is why I think we're just grappling to find what's next, what's different, because it's not this, I think, is what it feels like.
Yeah. And probably for somebody who just started out their career, anything is forward, right? And you just keep doing things, and whatever that you add to the picture means that you're moving forward.
Yeah.
But we've been working for 5-6 years now. We're not at the stage where if you add anything to the picture, it means that you're doing well. I think now is the time that we have to use a corporate word, is to be strategic about what you want, because we never had to think about it in the early years of our career. But now is the time that we have to stop.
That is interesting, yeah.
To actually reflect and think about, okay, so over the past 6-7 years, on the things that I did, what among those things that gave me meaning or you find meaningful, and what are the things that you did just because society is telling you that, hey, do it, and you did it, but even after you accomplished it, it didn't feel very fulfilling.
Actually, maybe we're just out of practice, or we're at this point in our life where it's new to us that we need to define our own success, because our whole lives, somebody either, in childhood, somebody told us what you need to do.
Yeah.
In school, it was easy.
It's easy. It's predetermined. Yeah.
You get an A.
Anything less than A.
Yeah, or like whatever, you pick up extracurriculars, you make it to the varsity team if you're playing sports, but there was a clear like what upward looks like.
Exactly.
And then like the first couple of years at your job, I mean, I remember getting my first paycheck, and that felt amazing, right? I didn't care how much it was. It was like, oh my God, I have money.
Money in the bank.
Yeah. And so everything was pretty straightforward. Yeah. But then now we're at a point where it's not linear.
It's not linear.
And we have to figure out.
And the options aren't quite as clear-cut as before. Do we continue to stay in the same role and just, go up the ladder? Or do we go to a completely different function and learn a new skill?
Yeah.
Or do we go off this corporate route and join a startup or start something that we are passionate about?
Yeah.
There are so many choices. Or do we just go and study and get an MBA, for example?
Yeah.
So there's so many options.
In my search to do something different, I got really caught up, actually, just for like 2 days with this idea of doing an MBA.
That's long enough.
That's pretty long for me. I got up in this idea of doing an MBA. Only because I was comparing to like, oh my God, this person got an MBA. Oh, that person is going back to school. And so I was like caught up in like, oh my God, I need to go back to school, whatever. And then I really thought about it. And I was like,
is it for me, right?
Maybe business is not even what I want to study, I mean, that desire lasted for 2 days, but then there's certain things where the desire continues, but I think you haven't even really evaluated, like, is that for me? Is that truly what I'm interested in, or do I just want it because other people have it?
Exactly. And there are a lot of mini decisions that you can make without actually thinking, it is something for me, it is what I want. So I guess it comes back to that like a practice. That's why we are so lost in this myriad of choices that life presents to us.
Yeah. So then how do you think we can go about figuring that out? I wish my kindergarten teacher would come back and and teach me these things.
So recently, a friend of mine applied for an MBA. So when he was writing his MBA applications essays, he hired a coach, and he said that he had to go back to every single decision that he made previously in his life and evaluate it. What is something that he's most proud of? What is his biggest failure? Why did he make the career choices that he made? And at that time, when he made the choices, it was more intuitive. But now when he looked back and he can connect the dot, he'd see a pattern of, because I am this person, that's why I made this choice.
Right.
And all the choices that I made, it come from somewhere inside. So I guess if we each take our time and do that exercise of looking back at all of the decisions that we made in our lives, and then we ask, why did we make that decision?
Yeah.
What does it say about me? Why did I choose to join a startup out of college? Why didn't I choose to stay in the US after I graduate from college? Why did I join Google? What was it about sales that we liked, that we stay with the job for so long?
Yeah.
So all of those decisions come with a reason. With our few years of experience that we had by now, there's enough data to tell us.
You sound like a real Googler.
I am. There's enough data for us to know about ourselves and what we want.
So I did this workshop at the office called Life Design.
Oh, yeah?
And we did this exercise where it was like, think about your childhood and what were the things that you really, really enjoyed doing. You recall certain things like, I really loved running around, playing tag, being active, or like doing crafts and like doing things with my hands. And of course, you're not gonna play and do things exactly the same way, but then at the core of it, those interests you might still hold.
Yeah.
You might still love doing arts or whatever, creating things with your hands, and those can be translated into an adult version.
I mean, you can't make a career out of running around and playing. But what does it say about you as a person?
Professional tag player.
What does it say about you as a person? Like what do you value?
Like interacting with people.
Yeah. Being social.
Yeah.
Interacting with people. Then it means that in your next job, that needs to be a core component of what that job should be.
Okay. So with that, this brings us to the end. So thank you for listening. And thank you, Kara. Bye.
Bye.